Hi, my name is Ryan Watson. For my business presentation, I chose the company Nike. I will be giving a brief overview about the company I picked by touching on the marketing, the financials, social responsibility information, and other important integral pieces of the company. So before I get into the specifics of the company, I thought it'd be a good idea to tell you about some of the background behind Nike. As far as the history of Nike goes, it was started by founder Bill Bowerman and Phil Knight in 1996 in Washington County, Oregon. However, it was first just a shoe distributor for a Japanese shoe manufacturer. Interestingly enough, this Japanese shoe manufacturer was later to be called ASICS, which still operates today. At some point, Nike breaks off from ASICS and they start to make their own shoes. Their main goal was and is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. With that in mind, this is about the time when they started to flourish as a corporation. Now that you know their general story, some basic facts about Nike today are that, in case you don't already know, they sell sportswear products. They are a publicly owned corporation, meaning there are many shareholders that own bits and portions of the company. An interesting fact is that in 2017, Nike made up 27% of the market in which companies manufactured and sold shoes, which is bigger than any other company. In the same year, there were about 74,000 employees worldwide working for Nike. As for their responsibilities, you can probably already guess that they are to make sportswear products of many varieties in their case. Now that we know a little about now we know a little bit about Nike and its humble beginnings, we can now get into the nitty-gritty. The first area I want to touch upon is the company's social responsibilities. Up until recently, Nike hasn't been all too concerned about the image as a corporation to the public as far as the contributions to society goes. They seem to have started after the whole foreign child labor workshops controversy as to appease the community supporting Nike. One of the first things they made sure to do was to be more transparent about their activities and operations, which I think helped. After that, they started a campaign to use less water in their manufacturing process. What they came up with was a process they tagged as color dry, which excludes water from the dyeing process. As a result, they weren't wasting 25 to 40 gallons of water for every 2 pounds of textile dyed with their old dyeing process. To further help conserve water, Nike is making efforts to get other companies to use the color dry process as well. Their newest venture and responsibility is to eliminate their use of hazardous chemicals in their manufacturing chain by 2020. Some key product lines that they put out include Air Jordan, Nike Plus, LeBron X, and Nike Hypervenom, and a bunch of other shoe lines. From just seeing the names of product lines, you can probably tell they get a lot of endorsement from famous athletes like LeBron James and Michael Jordan. You see, what Nike does to separate itself from the competition is to have athletes promote their products, and fans of those famous athletes, I believe, find that appealing and are therefore more inclined to purchase the product. Plus, it makes Nike seem more in touch with the world. As for marketing, Nike's marketing, as you probably know, is targeted towards athletes, athletic enthusiasts, and sports teams that are mostly college teams. Like I explained already, they target these demographics by getting athletic celebrities to endorse product lines. You can find at Nike outlets everywhere pretty much, or in other retailers. Also noteworthy is that because people associate their loyalty to star players with the Nike brand, consumers are left sentimental about the brand. Those people will buy whatever they have to help support the business. Everything I have mentioned so far has been stuff that you could have already guessed or that you've seen ads for and such. However, there are things that are harder to know about the company, one of which is the financial parts of Nike. To get a general idea of how much money flows through the company, here are some numbers, here are some statistics from the years 2016 to 2017, or between those years. For example, Nike's net income was $4 million $240,000. This is pretty good for a company relative to the size of Nike. Something I found out when analyzing their financial statements was their profit margin, which was at 40% in 2017, compared to the 36% in 2016. This means that they are generating more and more profits, which is a good sign. As for the other statistics listed, total asset turnover went down, which means that they didn't use their assets to turn a profit as good as last year. The company's return on assets was the same between the years 2016 and 2017 at 18%. And basically, return on assets is comparing the profit with resources invested. Nike's return on equity rose from 31% to 34% between 2016 and 2017. This is kind of the same as return on assets, except that it compares profit to equity / shareholders' equity, which is basically another type of asset. As far as management structure goes, it is pretty simple in the case of Nike. Long story short, it starts at the top with the managing director, which oversees the managers of production, marketing, and finance. To further break it down, the manager of production is in charge of the purchase and production units. The manager of marketing is in charge of the advertising and sales unit, and the manager of finance is in charge of the accounts and audit. And now management might not be the most creative constructually. However, I believe human resources might be something a little bit out of the norm as far as hiring employees goes. One important thing to understand is that the hiring process is usually very competitive and intense. They make people take tests and relentlessly question them to determine an applicant's experience and worth. So far, this is pretty normal when it comes to hiring processes in big corporations. But it gets interesting when Nike employees, after being hired, are asked to interview more experienced employees to determine which position they like best and to hop around to different jobs to find the perfect one for them. This is what they call the free agency model of employment. This makes Nike look like it actually cares about the company and the company morale and comfort for their employees. I think this is smart because all employees will find what they're best at and end up with better productivity and effort, and in turn help the company get better and more efficient as a whole. And these are my citations, and that is my presentation for Nike.